One of my favorite conversations of all time coming up right now. We've had it before. I'm ready for it again. TYT Sports, Christian, Francis, Jason. I'm Ben. Is gaming a sport? Jason, would you like to open?
No, because I'm going to let you go first on this one for multiple reasons.
It's not a conversation that sane people have. Is gaming a sport? No, of course not. It's not even close to a sport. Is it a totally acceptable activity to engage in? Something that you might enjoy thoroughly and do with your friends? I'm not trying to ban it, but it ain't baseball, and it ain't football, and it ain't basketball, and it's not hockey, and it's not tennis, and it's not golf, which barely qualifies because you don't have to run. Here's what else isn't a sport. Mountain climbing. It's an incredibly strenuous physical activity, and the people who achieve it are amazing. But they're not playing a sport. That will be my opening salvo. There is no defense to any of that, but feel free.
All right, so Ben, why do you watch basketball, baseball, football, these sports that you consider sports?
Because they entertain me, because they're amusing, and I don't know what the outcome will be.
Okay, how is that any different from a professional gaming tournament?
How is that any different? How is that any different from a movie?
I
don't know what the outcome is going to be. I love to watch it. It's a sport. I love movies. I love sports. They're the same.
That's a fantastic argument, but in terms of what we see, professional gaming, first of all, it's actually recognized as a sport now.
By who?
It's going to be a collegiate sport very soon.
And it's going to be a collegiate
It's going to be a
sport.
thing that they do, not a chemistry they do in college too. It's not a sport. They recognize it in college.
You don't love chemistry as a sport?
Jason, what you should have went into to Ben's argument, which I had prepared. I was going to let you take all the heat first, but
there's
all
no
right.
heat.
So I've already destroyed Jason. Go ahead. You're next.
Don't worry.
Let's go.
Don't worry. I'm ready.
The gaming audience behind me.
I'm ready. Up until 10 years ago, darts was considered a sport. A sport that up
Not
until
by me.
no, this is not just Ben Mankowitz world of sports. This is what the people out there know what your sports are not, right? So darts is a sport. And 10 years ago, you could drink whilst throwing sharp objects at a board for a competition. You could get drunk.
You can't do
it now, but you could get drunk up until about 10 years ago. So how on earth can you not say that gaming could be a sport when that is considered a sport?
I don't consider darts
But
a
that's
sport.
not-
and
but
no
not about
normal
you.
person thinks darts is a
Everyone
sport.
in the UK, it is a huge audience. Draws more money than probably the NFL, I'm going to say, in the UK. The darts championships.
I don't know about
Darts
I'm telling you.
draws more money. Remember
And the
when
UK.
Francis said darts is more money?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Watch the UK darts. Every UK fan
You got a
is
guy
watching this.
making $17 million a year playing
There
darts
is
in the UK?
Phil the Power Taylor, who's won it back to back many
Name
times.
a second dart player.
Name
Name two.
he sounds
That's
like the
it.
A-Rod.
let me hold on.
It's Dartsman.
It's Dartsman.
Go ahead. Look him up. Google it. It won't even.
What's his
Google doesn't even have it.
Gary Anderson, Scottish guy. Remember that. That's two. I know there was a guy that broke it. Have you ever watched darts though, like competitive darts?
They're pretty good. I'll give them that.
It's
Yeah,
so
I'll give them that. They're
entertaining.
pretty good.
Lots of things are
But
entertaining
it's a
and
sport.
competitive that
It's
aren't
competitive.
sports.
They train. Their arms have to take a lot of pressure to throw those darts consistently at the board.
Pinball playing isn't a sport. Skee ball isn't a sport. It has ball in the title.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what is actually called a sport, not what Ben thinks is a sport.
What Ben thinks about a sport is right.
No.
It's 100%
This is
right.
called a
I'm the
sport.
arbiter because there are crazy people sitting on this panel.
I'm going by what is called a sport in real life. What
Is
is
chess
considered
a
a
sport?
sport? It is considered a sport.
What do you say considered a sport? By whom? Why are you not
By the
taking...
sporting agencies of the world know that this is a competition between one man and another. It's a competition between someone.
That's all you need to be a sport is a
No,
competition.
I don't think it
I
just needs
think
to be a
there's
competition.
certain things that define a sport. Competition is one of them. If there's entertainment value to it, it could be a sport. If there's a skill that is needed and a learning curve that separates you from somebody else,
Yes, skill.
sport.
Okay.
Okay, can I read something real quick? According to dictionary.com, sport is an athletic activity requiring skill or physical prowess and often a competitive nature.
Right, okay.
So, okay, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence here. I played a real sport, baseball, so I mean, I was a real athlete, I believe. And soccer. Soccer's a good sport too. But anyway, look, I agree with you guys. I mean, when it comes to chess, darts, whatever, it's competition, and I agree. If there's competition, it's got to be somewhat of a sport. But when I have kids, I don't want them to be like, yeah, I play a sport, I play chess. Like, that's my argument.
That's insane.
I'm an athlete, I play chess.
You're clearly on my side. Just say it.
Of course
Like,
you
it's
are.
not a sport. It's a competitive activity that's fun. And it's great, and there might be money in it. But so's politics. It's competitive, and there's money in it. And I'm interested in the outcome. It's not a sport. It's like a sport in some respects.
It's
Right.
like
Yeah, it's definitely like a sport. In fact, it mimics sports because it uses sports as its thing. But it's not a sport. Chess isn't a sport. Checkers isn't a sport. Chinese checkers isn't a sport.
How about backgammon?
Backgammon's a sport.
Backgammon's a sport,
Totally.
okay.
Here's the deal. You need a ball. You need a ball or a ball-like substance.
What about a
Skee-ball.
what about
Skee-ball.
Skee-ball's
what
a
about a
sport.
virtual? What about a
It's not a
virtual
sport
ball?
because there's no series because it's at an
But it-
arcade.
but it-
and
but
it's
it-
not-
Because you
Okay.
win tickets. You
What
win
about-
tickets when you win.
What about the games where you actually get to stand up like a Wii game, Wii Sports? You know what I mean, it's a computer game and you're actually producing physical activity.
Tennis.
Then
That's
like
for the lazy kids.
Then what's the thing that kids do with it? Then like Soul Cycle is a sport. Like it's not. It's just an athletic activity. That's it.
Is yoga a sport?
No. Of
And I
course
need to-
not.
All right.
You gotta keep score. You
There is
gotta
a
have
very
a-
steep learning curve for yoga, though.
I'm going to tell you that
tough.
right now. As much as you're prejudiced about it, I'm going to tell you that in maybe the next 10 or 15 years, you'll see something like this continue to go up because this is the way we are moving, and your sacred sport, baseball, is going to continue to go down before something passes.
Baseball has never made more money, never been more popular, ever,
Never.
ever.
Than it is now.
Than today.
Well, I mean,
more fans, more people, more TV dollars.
more fans in comparison to what? To the point that a Man
Then it's-
United Liverpool game will sell out the Yankees for the first time that season when it's a soccer game that comes from a different country. Doesn't sound that
Here's what
popular
you
to
can
me.
do with your little accent. And your little dialect. Like the day that more Americans watch, we can have that. We can have that conversation.
More Americans watch what? Soccer or baseball?
Yeah.
Are you seriously having that argument?
Let's go.
NBC, I'm having it.
Let's go.
NBC Sports have caught so much money in their Saturday morning, not watching American sports. I'll agree with you, the MLS does not stand alike, but the Americans watching European sports in the morning makes more money than baseball. People watching it.
You're right. People don't watch baseball in the morning.
I'm just telling you, I've been watching it. The television rights that they signed for the Barclays Premier League, NBC, Fox with the Champions League, it's more money than baseball. I'm going to put my head underneath the guillotine.
It isn't.
It does. I'm telling you. We'll do the research. We'll
It's
continue.
good. And it's fine. Let's do the research. Do you have? The Houston Astros just got a new baseball contract. Like the numbers for baseball are staggering. The Los Angeles Dodgers just sold for over $2 billion.
But if you're consistent by numbers, then that's like saying the MLS is growing because they're adding teams upon teams, but it's not growing. It's just adding more
Oh,
teams
it is,
to
the MLS
it. It's
is
growing, but it's not to the
growing.
point that I'm like, oh, okay, this is a sport
Not
that I'm
a
really
staggering
considering
amount of
a
growth.
staggering amount.
Look, I didn't rip soccer. I'm giving you soccer. It's great. You guys love it. It's growing a little here in America. But I got news for you. Since I've been 6, we've heard that story.
Oh,
The
I
same
agree.
story.
I agree. The American soccer is
90
not.
years ago?
Baseball has never been more popular than it is now. Now, I will tell you a significant problem that baseball has is that people have never been more interested in the teams in their cities and their local contracts, whereas overall, people in Minneapolis aren't that interested in watching the Dodgers play the Giants the way that people in Minneapolis are interested in watching the Cowboys play the Eagles. Right. Like that has not translated, and that's a big problem baseball has. But the local TV rights are staggeringly through the roof, and baseball has set in attendance records year after year after year after year.
But Ben, do you know what is considered a sport? MLB The Show. It's a game where you can play as these players.
Not a sport. Just because it's competitive and it's a thing that people do doesn't make it a sport. And just because you sweat doesn't make it a sport. Like rock climbing takes tremendous skill.
Yeah, but what if it's like, so back to this whole argument of gaming a sport, but with rock climbing, I consider track and field as a sport, track specifically.
Barely. I'm not sure about that. I go back.
Yeah, all right.
But it's a race. Somebody has to finish first.
If it involves running fast, it
If
might
you
be a
come
sport.
in-
Usain
first-
Bolt's an athlete, but someone else who runs a long distance isn't.
The what is?
So if you're saying Usain Bolt is an athlete because he runs fast, he's the fastest
Yeah,
man
like
on the
I got to
planet.
get around. I have an obvious hole in my argument with the ball, right? Right? Because
Well,
obviously.
there's a baton.
So here's the deal.
some of it.
The exception to the ball is if you're running as fast as you possibly can.
Okay, so what's the difference? So you don't consider mountain climbing a sport, but if you take that same concept of a race and you line 10 guys up and they have to race to the top of the mountain and someone gets there first, how is that different from
Racing uphill is not a sport. You can only race on flat ground.
ridiculous?
Everybody, you know in your gut what a sport is. It's ridiculous.
I
It's not a
understand.
sport. It's just it's a thing. It's a competitive thing to do that people enjoy. I'm not taking it away from them.
There's
You know,
no,
like
there's no
fishing is
doubt.
not a sport.
There's no doubt. Yeah.
Fishing
Wait,
is
I don't know.
definitely
I
not a
like
sport.
I like bass fishing.
So what this argument is
But
not
it's not a sport though. It's a great thing to do.
That's what I'm saying. So this argument is not what is considered a sport by the logistics of sport out there. It's what we consider to be sport. What we consider to be a sport. Because this is just like prejudice coming in.
Sports is sacred. It matters. You
Yeah.
can't just do something competitive and pretend. Also, if you're Here's the deal. In some level, you have to be an athlete if you're going to be in sports.
Yeah.
It's not an athletic endeavor. That's not what it is. It's skill, but it's not an athletic endeavor. Programming code quickly is an incredible skill. It's not a sport.
I think it depends on heart rate, beats per minute, whether it's a sport or
That's
not.
a factor. That's a factor, and that hurts golf.
But yeah, well, that's another thing. I agree with that argument because if you look at a golfer in past generations of your John Daly's walking around compared to a Rory McIlroy now, who is a no, I love John Daly.
Daly has like the greatest pants to ever exist.
I know that, but I'm talking about in terms of physical stature. That is a good argument you're making because now even golf is becoming more athletic. Rory McIlroy is in prime shape and he can drive the ball.
Would you consider
And
him
so does
sexy?
Tiger.
Did that.
He's a sexy, yeah. He's a great athlete.
Tiger Woods came around and was a fit guy.
Yeah.
He was in shape, and he started putting on that persona.
Here's the deal. If you're going to engage in sports, you have to leave your house. That's a rule.
These
That's a good
gamers
rule.
have to leave their house. They go to the Tokyo Dome and play in front of 18 million unique viewers.
Swimming is kind of a sport, but you have to do it in somebody else's pool.
Yeah, you don't have as much sweat in swimming, could you?
All right, enough. I've obviously won again.
Yes, of course.
I don't know about that. Let's hit the comment section.
Yeah, let's hit the comments.
Comment whatever you want. Not going to read one of them.